And welcome back, bowling fans, for C Squad of the 2021 USBC Senior Masters here at Sam's Town in Las Vegas, Nevada. We are closing out qualifying for the first day, one of 3 days of qualifying. We have a 5 game block coming at you. C Squad taking the lanes. It is the double burn squad. There has been no re-oils. We have 2 squads bowling previously to the C squad. Now we're coming back here for the final challenge of the day, and that is the double burn, a unique situation to majors. It's also a great way to test these bowlers out here on a very difficult flat condition here. So excited to get this kicked off. I'm going to have some people joining me throughout the day. Jason Thomas is here. Matt Canizero is also wandering around here somewhere, doing amazing things here. But exciting start off. We have some amazing bowlers on this squad. We're going to start off with Chris Barnes here on our featured pair. We're going to hop there pretty soon. 19, 20, 21, and 22. Lots of stories right now. Tom Hess is the tournament leader. He averaged better than 240 over 5 games. Puts him at 211 over. He is the benchmark for the day. He bowled A squad, kind of found some lightning in a bottle. High average for the day so far. High qualifier on B squad. David Leverage sitting at 159 over. Looked like he was going to give Tom a little bit of a run for his money here in the first block. That was not able to happen. And as we go partial screen here to our featured pair, going to have a few bowlers to present to you to start the day with. Chris Barnes, obviously, I said will be on this pair. But before we do that, before we talk about bowling, let me go ahead and introduce my cohort, partner in crime here. Going to be on the ones and twos with me, if you will. Jason Thomas.
Well, hello, Curtis.
Hello,
Good
Jason.
afternoon. Good afternoon. So yeah, I guess they're a little hard.
Yeah, no, we saw that toward the end of last block. It looked like they were going to open up a little bit, right? Game
thought,
2,
yeah.
game 3, you looked like you had a little friction, right? You had a little bit of hold in the middle, and then all of a sudden, about 6th frame or 7th frame of game 3, things started to kind of really take a dive. What do you think happened there?
That's a great question. I think we're watching Chris Barnes right now, and I think he was probably expecting to play a little further left than where he is right now. He's playing, between second and third arrow with a ball with quite a bit of surface on it. And so, yeah, I think with this ice oil, the players, I think they chose to play out to the right quite a bit. There were some players we saw early that played in but didn't have a lot of success. So I think B squad played them pretty far to the right. But it's a big bowling center, and I think the we really don't have a lot of information on how they play from one end of the center to the other. So the players are kind of having to navigate. We saw Tom Hess just bombing them, and then all of a sudden he hits a pair in game 5, and he's fighting for his life. Shoots it's 40 something in the 4th, and then ends up figuring the pair out and pulling 2-0 out of that.
That is,
which was huge,
insane. Yeah,
but we certainly, it certainly does seem like there are some very, very tricky pairs. 19 and 20 has been kind of tricky for the players the last week or so, but I talked to Chris Barnes about it, and he said he feels like the low end is a little bit more friendly, and then as you get up to the high end, that's the tougher end.
I tend to take Chris Barnes' word for those kind of things.
Yes.
If anybody doesn't know this, and I would assume if you're listening to us, you probably do, Chris Barnes keeps insanely detailed and accurate notes in regards to pretty much every bowling lane he's ever bowled on since he could probably remember. He could probably tell you what, when he was bumper bowling when he was 4, what bumper played tighter on the lane he was bowling on. So you definitely, he notices the nuances. And actually, funny, Jason, I was talking to him before the block started, and I asked him about his note taking. And he said, well, it's just something I kind of always did. I'm hyper competitive, and I think we all know that. Um, and I said, well, in my mind, if it gives you, if you know lane 19 is a little tighter than lane 20, and it allows you to adjust one frame earlier than you normally would have, you're getting an extra hit, maybe one or two every other game. And over the course of a tournament, how much does that add up?
Yeah, for sure. The best story I've ever heard from anybody that describes Chris Barnes' personality is Mark Baker, who was working with Tommy Jones and Chris Barnes at the same time. Said, I'd work with one of them, and Tommy would throw a 15 bagger after we would work on something, and then he'd miss, on the 16th shot, and he would say, I'm good. And Barnes would do the same thing. He'd work with Mark, he'd throw a 15 bagger, and he'd miss on the 16th shot, and he would say, why did I miss on the 16th shot?
Yep. It's funny. I remember at his Hall of Fame induction speech, and this kind of just sets the pace. He said he was talking when Mark first started working with him, and he gets up and he throws the shot, and Mark watches it, and Chris asked him, how'd I throw that one? He's like, yeah, you threw it pretty good. He's like, okay. So he gets up and he throws his next shot, strikes. He's like, how'd I throw that? He's like, yeah, you threw that one pretty. He's like, all right, no, I didn't throw that one pretty good. I didn't throw that well. Just so I'm going to need you to be brutally honest with me at all times. And that's just the kind of, and then from that point on, it struck a beautiful relationship, and Chris went on to have a pretty decent career.
He did, and I think Mark helped him get over some of the issues he had on television.
Yes.
Pointed out some physical things that he was doing. I think Chris thought, because by that point it was getting in his head, but Mark said, hey, it's a physical thing. And so when Chris figured that out, towards the end of his career on the, he's still out there on the PBA.
Still winning.
Yeah, he certainly. But if you look at the second half of his career, he had a much better time on television once he started working with Mark.
Yeah, no, he completely changed the narrative of his career, because he was kind of known as, for lack of a better person, I'm not going to say it too loud because he's standing next to me. But he was kind of known, he choked off on television a little bit.
Yeah, he was the guy who couldn't get it done. He made more shows than anybody, but
couldn't win.
Didn't have all the titles. But and certainly, the second half of his career, he kind of flipped it around. Didn't make as many shows, but when he got there, he closed the deal.
Yeah. He talked to me about, I said, early in your career, it was really hard for you to control your emotional ups and downs. And he's like, absolutely. The biggest thing that I have a problem with is, people know when I'm bowling good and people know when I'm bowling bad. He's like, I've never been able to find a way to manage my own expectations of my game. And it just brought up a really salient point about what it takes to be great at something. And the irony is you want to be great at something to get the satisfaction of being great and being the best. And I asked him, I was like, well, did you ever reach that satisfaction? And he said, no, because as soon as you accomplish one thing, it's never enough. You're always pushing to accomplish that next thing. And that's just the kind of competitor he is.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And, you look at athletes in other sports who, like take a David Duval, for example, in golf, who was a great player, early on in his career. And, his goal was to win a major. And it came very close, usually at the hands of Tiger Woods, came up a little short. But then when he won that first major, he had this kind of moment where he was kind of expecting something to change, and there really wasn't anything different. It was just more pressure to win another one. And he went the other direction. And you have to give, greats like Chris Barnes, a lot of credit for continuing to climb the mountain, even though, they had already climbed it so many times.
Yeah, Chris has no secret of, kind of where he wants to be, especially later on in his career. He's been very vocal as to like what, because I guess as you get older, you have to kind of define what is satisfying, what you get satisfaction out of in your career when it's all kind of said and done, right? you set that benchmark more so than anybody else, and he set it at the Marshall Holman number. He wants to have as many, if not more titles than Marshall Holman, because that was his guy. You know, that's his guy growing up. It's the guy he looked up to, and so that's the kind of his mark. But even if he gets there, at the end of the day, you still always want one more. But yeah, they're definitely starting a lot further. Like you see a lot of people actually pretty straight angles still playing further right than you would absolutely expect on a burn condition like this. And so that's really interesting for me. It's probably a good thing for the field though, because it gives them room for transition, right? It gives them room to move left if they need to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what it tells me is there's just not a huge amount of defined friction out on the lanes. You would assume after two-thirds of this field's gone through and bowled 5 games that there would be a very well-defined area to play, which is just not the case.
No, we'll watch Chris Barnes here. He's going to throw a shot here. Try to get something picking up. He's looking like the carry bug is hitting him pretty hard. But I mean, you can even see him. He's kind of playing this fallback, trying to get a little angle on it, getting around the side of the ball, but keeping it pretty tight. And it's just going to be, I think the issue for him is going to be carry. You can see they're pretty tight angle, not shaping it a ton. And then Messenger doesn't come across and do its job there. A 10 pin for Chris. I feel like, as oil is pushed down on this pattern, coupled with the fact that you have the ice oil on the lanes, which is a lower coefficient of friction, it's definitely going to create some movement issues down lane and create some carry problems in the long run.
Jerry Johnson joining us in the chat. He bowled on the B squad and said he shot minus 31 and was 59th going into C squad. He said, tough shot, but fun.
That's what I like to hear. I want to see a shot that's tough, but competitive and fair. It rewards good shot making. And, if you slice one and you get it into the second cut, you feel like, I deserve that.
And Kendall Williams asked Jerry if she thinks tomorrow's squad will be easier or harder, knowing it will be on the fresh. B will bowl first tomorrow. So this squad here will bowl the middle squad, and the A squad will go from fresh to double burn tomorrow.
Yes, they will. And, I think we've talked about it a couple of times. There is no easy way to predict how they're going to play tomorrow. I mean, you can try to kind of get a feel for what you think they're going to play like, but when there's no re-oil, when there's no reapplication, squad play absolutely 100% dictates the transition. And you might have a squad completely change their mind about how they want to play a particular shot, and will ultimately lead to a completely different breakdown. So it's a little nerve-wracking because obviously they had practice session, right? But practice was on all fresh, so you never really got the opportunity to see what that double burn is going to look like. So you kind of go in there a little blind.
Well, we're about halfway through, a little more than halfway through game number 1 here. We will be broadcasting the rest of game 1 here on Facebook Live and Bowl TV YouTube channel. And then to watch the rest, you'll have to visit us over on bowltv.com. If you don't happen to have a subscription, there's 3 options available. You can purchase an event ticket for the USBC Senior Masters. Probably the best option in terms of cost effectiveness is the monthly option that gets you an $8.95 recurring subscription, and will get you the rest of this event and one collegiate event. And then if you want to renew for another month, you'll get the Fall Classic, the conclusion of the PWBA season, the exciting conclusion, which will determine Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, and the Tour Championship winner. So you'll definitely want to check that out, or you can just say, hey, I'm already convinced. I want to watch the 80 to 90 events you guys are planning for the next year, and get your annual subscription. It works out to between 5 and 8 cents a broadcast.
And there's literally more. There is more content than you can actively watch, right? If you're looking for content and you want bowling content, you're not going to find any more bowling content than right here on Bowl TV. So yeah, check it out. You're going to want to catch that. I am ready for the Fall Classic. I am ready for the exciting conclusion of the PWBA season. There are absolutely so many storylines involved in that whole wrap up and that conclusion. Obviously, the U.S. Open just finishing up, and that $100,000 historic top prize. Dasha Kovalova, Julia Bond, Shannon O'Keefe, Danielle McEwen. They're all in the run. They're all in the race and the running for Player of the Year, and it's anybody's game with three more events left in the season.
Yeah, I'd say there's probably 9 or maybe even 10 players that have a chance for it, which is pretty
insane,
crazy if you think about it.
Well, if you look back at last year, and I think we've said it before, Shannon O'Keefe ran away with Player of the Year pretty much before the season was 3/4 of the way done. You weren't catching, and so it hasn't been for a long time. It hasn't been. There hasn't really been much intrigue with it, but now lots of new faces looking to get that first, accolade, that ever important accolade of Player of the Year. But Player of the Year out here, very much up for grabs, Jason, and a bowler that's looking to capture those honors along with Rookie of the Year honors, and a guy we've talked about a couple of times already, Tom Hess. Had an excellent block, set himself up, obviously coming off a big momentous win at the U.S. Open, Senior U.S. Open here in Brentwood, and building off that success, and had another great day here on A-Squad.
Yeah, and Jerry Johnson actually responded in the chat to Kendall, said about the fresh tomorrow, imagine it'll be just as challenging unless you're Tom Hess.
That's well said, Jerry.
Yes. So yeah, no, you're right. It's there's a lot at stake for Tom. He obviously wants that Rookie of the Year, wants the Player of the Year. I mean, he's had a good, solid season, but he wins the last 2 events, which are the biggest majors of the season, and it'd be hard to vote against him.
No, absolutely would. But there's a bowler right here that we're watching has something to say about that, and that's Chris Barnes. Obviously this is his rookie season, so to speak, out here on the PBA 50 Tour as well, and he wants to put his name in for that Rookie of the Year award as well, and it's going to be a dogfight. You just expect Chris Barnes to be in the running for this thing, coming into the finals.
Yeah, well, he's been Rookie of the Year on the PBA Tour and Player of the Year, so I'm sure he'd like to duplicate that out here on the PBA 50 Tour as well.
Not too many players able to do that. Pete Weber, right? Pete Weber, Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
And then he PBA 50 Rookie of the Year when he came out?
I believe so.
I believe he was.
Yeah.
And then I think he's been Player of the Year as well for PBA 50. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat.
So a couple more frames left here in game number 1 for the C squad. They had a chance to watch all day and kind of plan the strategy. And I think they were a little surprised. I think they expected B squad to kind of step on the gas midway through that squad, and then it kind of went the other direction.
Absolutely. Yeah, you saw some really nice scores coming out early. and then that slope just flattened out, and it got really, really, really tough toward the end of the block.
And it was 5 players more than 100 over. Pretty stacked leaderboard. Hall of Famers all over the top of the leaderboard. Usually it takes a little time for that to kind of shake out, but the Hall of Famers came out of the gate firing this morning.
Yeah, you see, you're just looking cursory glance. Norm Duke, Chris Warren, Doug Kent, Pete Weber. I mean, all bowling well. Jason Couch.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
It's kind of intimidating if you're about to turn 50 and you want to think about coming out here and bowling.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Not a lot of checks available.
Yeah. Not, just add Chris Barnes to that equation.
Right.
Have fun. Oh, you just want to bowl. You want to bowl 5 to 10 of the greatest bowlers of all time. There you go. Come on the PBA 52.
Have a lot of fun. Yeah, Rick, Tom Hess just won the Senior U.S. Open coming into this event, so red hot. Couple of back-to-back majors possible for Tom. He is a former Masters champion. Won that about 10 years ago. So it would be nice to have the matching set. The senior and the the Masters.
You always want the bookends, baby.
Yep.
It's about, these bowlers are like, it's like Pokemon. They want to collect them all. They do.
Yeah. A couple of legends that didn't have a great start. Walter Ray and Hugh Miller, minus 66 and minus 67. But
they're not
out of it.
They didn't bowl themselves out of it. Yeah.
No. But a little surprising considering how well both of those guys bowled in the Super Senior Classic.
It's one of those things because the pin totals erase after qualifying, right? You have the ability to not panic so much because you realize, hey, wait a minute. I don't need to, pad my stats and pick up all this wood to the show. I just need to limp in to the top 64 or 63, really, because the Amleto's automatically seated there. So, I think. Do you think it changes the way that the guys look at the condition, play the lanes, or strategize from block to block?
I mean, yeah, always. You're always kind of looking and seeing what's happening with lanes. What are some of the similar styles that are bowling well to yours, and what equipment are they using? How are they playing the lanes? Chris Barnes always will go through the process of thinking through what his progression is going to be prior to bowling a squall, and then it may not play out that way, but he knows what the options are when he sees a certain thing happen. So he's always thinking ahead, and I think that helps. I mean, for some people, it's not helpful because you can get overwhelmed with some of the options that you have. But for Chris, he's got the plan laid out, and the plan helps him improvise. Which it seems counterintuitive, but if you have the plan and then something doesn't work out the way you want it to, you can quickly make adjustments and try something different, and that's what this game's about. Rapidly making adjustments to mitigate risk and maximize results. And Chris Barnes is going to try to maximize his results here as he steps up in the 10th frame. Looking to bowl 235, just one of those scrappy games right here, Jason. Not throwing a bunch in a row, but keeping it in the pocket, grabbing a couple of doubles when he can. Hopefully, pick up a three bagger, and that's a really nice shot right there. High flush. He's he's jumped.
He's jumped in.
Left. Yeah, he's going over fourth arrow and got away with that one there. I think he got that one a little in. And he's trying to pump himself up to make a little better shot here, but he'll be in the 230s with one more strike.
Yeah, it looks like he's coming around the side of it just a touch more. Just really kind of made that jump in, and I think it was a decision based off of, I would imagine, carry, because he was in the pocket right, but I just don't think he liked the angle very much.
Yeah, I mean, to me, his game looks very tight. I mean, in a good way.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a clutch shot right there.
Yeah, he liked that.
Getting through the fronts there with a little bit of loft.
Yeah, he looks very sharp to me.
Absolutely.
Rev rate looks crisp. He's got great balance. Looks really good.
Persistent and really nice through the shot. And control.
Yeah, absolutely.
In these tournaments, especially these big majors like this, it's more about being in control. Knowing where, like you said, knowing where you're going, knowing what your plan is, and being in control. But I guess we're wrapping up. That first game's already done, already in the books.
It is. Chris Barnes with 235. We hope you guys enjoyed the coverage over on the Bowl TV YouTube channel and the Sport of Bowling USBC Facebook page. We're going to sign off over there, but you can watch the rest of the action and the action for the rest of the week over on bowltv.com. Jerry Johnson got another mention in the chat. Someone asking if Jerry's bowling this quad. Jerry's he's all over the